This week on the Grand Terrace Network, we're bringing the horsepower. This week we're going on a little show and shine with you in our own hometown here to celebrate one of the greatest events, Cars and Coffee, a monthly event that happens here in Grand Terrace. Bring down your hot rod, come see ours, and let's just show and shine all day long. Cars and Coffee this week is brought to you by Elsie Original Photography. To capture that special moment, trust Elsie Original Photography with all of your photography needs. And the City News Group and Lowbrow Inc., Grand Terrace's #1 tattoo shop. Cars and Coffee is not only a once-a-month gathering of hot rod-loving car enthusiasts here in our wonderful town of Grand Terrace, California. It's also a great organization of people who want to give back to the community. They give back through charity organizations and groups with two things in common: a love for horsepower and a drive to pay it forward. The history and passion that drives these local high-octane detail junkies to rise, show, and shine their power-driven freedom machines can be told best by local founder and resident, and high-octane detail junkie himself, Johan Gallo. Johan has a definite love for horsepower and charity. Those two things combined can make a machine that just keeps on giving and won't stop. Let's see where it all started for him.
1966 GTO. I was 17 years old, and I bought it for my brother because he had blown it up twice. And so my mom asked if I wanted to take over the payments, and I said, yeah, but I got to get with my oldest brother and see if he can help me with the engine. So I talked to my brother Oscar, and he goes, yeah, and he says, I'll work with you and Al, my other brother, and we'll figure it out. So we ended up building the 66 GTO. It was a 389 bored out 60 over, had a Duttentopf cam, tri-power. Way too much horsepower and way too fast for a 17-year-old kid, but I loved every bit of it.
So that spurred a love for horsepower.
Yeah, I mean, my dad and I had always worked in the garage on cars. It was mainly just the family cars. And then my brother Al kind of got interested in getting cars and fixing them up. And so I was always the mechanic, shall we say. He was always the visionary, had all the ideas on all the custom stuff. I was like, no, I just want to make it fast and I want it to go. And so pretty soon I had the GTO, 389 tri-power, 4-speed posi, and crazy fast. And then from there, it never ended. And so from there I had a 69 Torino GT, 390, C6. My friend Dorian that had Hillborn transmission in San Bernardino built the tranny on it. He says, you'll blow a rear end on this thing before you blow this tranny. He wasn't wrong. I could light that thing up and go a city block just smoking the tires, and I didn't even have to power brake the car. And then I went really crazy and I decided I'm gonna get a Pinto. And all my friends were like, Gallo? are you okay? And so I get this Pinto from Fairview Ford. It was the first factory sunroof Pinto delivered to California. It was that burnt orange like they had on the Mustangs. White interior. Before you knew it, it had a 4-barrel on it, split header exhaust, Spearco suspension system. Let's just say it was fast enough to beat a 240Z out of Crestline, and we'll leave it there.
Okay.
So I wasn't done there. Next thing you know, I'm in a 69 Roadrunner. As a matter of fact, that's when I met Donna, who's lived up here since 1960. And bought the 69 Roadrunner, joined the SoCal Roadrunner Club, and she decided she did not like drifting with me at 120 miles an hour. I won't say where, but I did take her to a parking lot one time just to make sure that she still didn't like the idea of drifting. And so then next thing I know, I'm in a 340 Duster. The 340 Duster is the last car I took down the drag strip. And she happened to be pregnant with our son, and she was getting very nervous about me going fast and wondering if I could stop. You don't tell her that's what the sand trap in the wall is at the end of the drag strip. Not a good idea. So anyway, so next thing I know, I'm drag racing, and I decided that day if it's going to freak you out racing, then I'm done racing. And she goes, no, because then your friends will all say, well, you're my way, you do it. I said, no, it's my decision. So then fast forward, it was a big buzz about my 60th birthday. And I couldn't figure out what the big to-do was, and everybody wanted me to open this card. Next thing I know, it's the Andretti IndyCar experience at Fontana. And so October of that year, I got to go out and drive an Indy car and join the 150 mile an hour club with Andretti Racing, doing an Indy car on a super speedway. And so that was like, okay, yeah, that's still in me at 60 years old. It's one of those where I just, you know, with the GTO, after 2 tickets, the juvenile judge said, if I see you back in my courtroom again before your 18th birthday, you'll be walking till you're 21. So pretty soon after that, it was going to the grudge drag racing like they used to do at Fontana. They used to do at the old Ontario Speedway, then Irwindale. Shoot, my nephew Kurt, he's got a 7-second Camaro that is just unbelievable. So yeah, it's kind of in my blood. I was in the automotive industry 42 and a half years. I was the only shop in the Inland Empire that you can get drag slicks from. And so we were always providing all the local drag racers with that. You know, a lot of people don't know the history of Hunts Lane, but if you ever watch the movie American Graffiti, when they go out and the Deuce goes up against the Chevy, that was Hunts Lane back in the 60s and 70s. Most people don't realize that. What you did is the kids would go down there, and the cops knew they were there. They just weren't on East Street, and there was nobody down there but Cooley Ranch and a bunch of cows, and maybe a few cars, and then you had to wait for the train to pass. But everybody would go down there, stage their cars, quarter mile was marked off, and it was like gone. And so I knew after seeing Judge Schmidt, I didn't want to go there. I would come and watch, but nothing crazy ever happened, not like the stuff you see today. It was just some clean fun, out of the way of traffic and everything. And so Hunts Lane was the American Graffiti drag racing strip. And then pretty soon everything got built up around here. It's sad we've lost so many tracks in our area, because the first drag strip I ever went to was with my brother Oscar, who took me to Lions Club, Lions drag strip, and I was hooked. 13 years old, night drags, all these nitro cars, dragsters. I mean, when the ground is shaking from the horsepower, you're like, yeah. So that's what really kind of got me hooked. You know, I really enjoyed going there and doing all that. And
It's a beautiful car.
thank you.
I love that.
And so, you know, it's been in my blood. And then pretty soon, I wanted another GTO. So when Donna was expecting with Christy, I found in the green sheet a convertible 66 GTO like what I had, a hardtop in high school, and I bought it. I thought for sure it was going to cost me my marriage because I bought this basket case home. I paid $500 for it. I said, just give me a couple of years. And so I did a complete restoration on it. And pretty soon it was fun because I would take her car to work sometime to do service on it. Kids would be running down the hall, Daddy, Daddy, Mommy made the tires squeal. And I'd look at her and go, with the kids? She goes, it's a high performance car, what do you want? So then kind of fast forward, it was time to get serious and get a family car. So we ended up buying a small truck so we could go out camping and everything. Somebody offered me what I thought was a crazy price for the GTO back then. And so I sold it. And then we bought the house over here on DeSoto. And a friend of mine, Steve, who'd owned a 72 Cuda since it was new, the family all got together and bought it for him when he graduated from Aquinas High School. And next thing he knows, he wants me to restore it. So I did a two-year restoration on it. And you know, that thing is beautiful. It was China red, white interior. One of Donna's friends up here actually ended up carving a pistol grip shifter for it. And so he wanted it all back to factory, all original equipment. And so we did a complete direct connection, high performance 340, putting out about 380 horse to the rear wheels. He didn't want anything crazy, but I wished he'd let me know he wanted to sell it because he sold it before I had a chance to bid on it. But the Cobra, in 1963, my brother Oscar, who was into automotive, his first job in the United States was Parts Auto Electric on E Street and 9th, or 10th, I think it was. And so fast forward, he gets this job with Federal Mogul, a Long Beach branch, moves out. He's in Long Beach. He's got all the big names. He's got Shirley Muldowney. He's got Don Garlitz. He's got Carol Shelby. I mean, he's still friends and on Facebook with Cheryl and Don Perdome and all these people. I'm in nothing. I'm a 10-year-old kid in 63, but I'm going to Riverside Raceway and I'm watching the Cobra. And I'm telling my two Corvette-loving brothers, that car's gonna win. And they're like, you don't know nothing, you're a kid. I go, no, that car's gonna win, something about that car. And they're like, I don't think so. And pretty soon the Cobra starts winning and keeps winning. And I'm still in love with the car. So I thought, you know, in my wildest dreams, I had every hot rod magazine, I had all the articles from Cobras. Then when the family came along, I said, you know, I just need to give up on this dream. I really do. So unfortunately, I got rid of all of it. I gave it to friends. And so one day I'm looking on the computer and Donna's looking at me and she goes, I know what you want. You got both kids through college. You took care of your parents till they passed with in-home care with other brothers and sisters 24/7. Do something for you. You never do. And I'm like, yeah, but can I have that in writing? Because I know there's a due bill on that. When things don't go well, I can't justify going and buying a Cobra because I don't care. Just don't break the bank. So the history on the Cobra is, after researching it for 10 years, I knew the build that I wanted was the Superformance build. And the reason for that is Carol Shelby was suing Superformance for building the Cobra because frankly, they were stealing his car. And after he saw how they were produced, he finally, after 10 years, ended the lawsuit, gave them licensing agreement. He went ahead and gave them permission to build the Cobra, licensed with Shelby America. That's why I have his autograph on the dashboard, because it's the only authorized replica. It's not a kit car, it's a replica. If you look at the gauges, if you look at the platform of the car, it has a Smith & Lucas gauges. It has the same shifter that it had. It has the displacement of everything. The only difference about this car is it's running a 351 stroked out to 395. It's putting out 430 to the rear wheels, and it handles better than when they had the 427 in the car. So I've been looking and looking and looking, and in 2007, I found the Cobra in the most ironic place in the world. I found it in Oroville, California. And a guy was selling it, and I told Donna about it, and she goes, well, we're going to go visit our Uncle Bruce that lives in Oroville. Maybe he can go out with you and you can check out the car. I'm like, okay. So we head up to Oroville with Donna's mom, who wanted to see her brother and his wife and the family and everything. So we get up there, and I'm talking to Bruce about the Cobra. And he goes, you've always had a heart for this car. And I said, yeah. I said, in my wildest dreams, I never thought I'd be here. And so we went out and looked at it. And finally I go, okay, Brad, I'll let you know. It is a super performance. It's what I want. So I get in the car and start it up, and Bruce looks at me and goes, what the hell's the matter with you? That car is perfect. I said, yeah, but if we leave today, I'm going to buy it at my price, not his price. So I'm good. So we worked on it. Finally, after 6 weeks, we came up with a price. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll rent a car. Hertz will let me drop it off at the Ford dealership up there. And so what I'll do is I'll just rent a car. I'll meet you at the bank. We'll go to the Ford dealership, drop off the car, get the Cobra, go to the DMV, register it, and fire it up and go home. Because that works. So that was November of 2007. So it'll be 15 years I've had the car this November. But you know, I've always loved the Cobra. I love the history behind the Cobra. You look at all the stuff that Carroll Shelby is known for that most people don't even know. You know, the reason Carroll Shelby got hired by Ford was because they previewed the brand new Mustang at the top of the World Trade Center, and the New York Reporter called it a beautiful secretary's car in front of Ford. And he was livid. He goes, this is not a secretary's car. And so he gets a hold of Iacocca, and he tells him, you get a hold of Carroll, you tell him build this thing into a racing machine. And that's when the Mustang GT350, future GT500 was created. So Iacocca, even in the movie Ford versus Ferrari, when you had Ford versus, Ferrari and the whole history there, they made BB out to be the bad guy. BB actually was the guy that saved the Cobra project, because what Ford didn't know, what Henry Ford did not know, is Carroll kept painting Cobras different colors because he wanted to make it seem like he had more cars produced than he really did. Some of the cars have actually been sanded to show the patina and all the layers of paint on it because of how many times it was repainted. And so then the whole history really evolved because Iacocca supported everything when he was with Ford. He was the top executive at Ford. Next thing you know, he's in a janitor's closet. They had busted his stripes, demoted him, and he was shoved out the door. Well, he went and turned Chrysler around. So what did he do? He hooked up with Carroll Shelby. And guess what they built? The Viper.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's, Jason, like you, we're self-made.
Yeah.
Okay? Nobody gave us anything but a chance and an opportunity, and we took the rest of it. Anyway, so yeah, and then, really kind of fast forward when Jeff and Joanne started the afternoon car show over here at the old Stater Brothers parking lot. Jeff's schedule changed. Next thing I know, he's telling all of us that he's going to shut it down. It stayed shut down for a year or two, and then I retired, and I reached out to Mike Miller and asked about being a sponsor. And he goes, well, what are you going to do? Is it just going to be a bunch of guys and gals coming around with their cars? And I said, no, I want to give back to the community. And I said, I want it to be more than that. He goes, okay, then I'm on. And that's when he signed up to be our title sponsor. And he stuck with us the whole time. And I told him, I said, we're going to give back. I said, we have to grow a little bit because our first one, we only had 6 cars. We had Lisa Wadley with her gun runner truck, and Daryl Brule, longtime resident, with his Porsche. Guy was there with his truck, Guy Portillo, and so there was only 6 of us. And I'm like, okay, maybe this was a mistake. So then Ed saw me from the Lions Club, so Ed Giroux said, why don't we move it across the street, because you're not going to have room here. So he and the Lions Club offered to put us across the street, and by B of A, and Dr. Sigstad went ahead and gave permission to move it there. We did all the paperwork with the city and everything, and we moved there. We grew from an average of 20 cars per Saturday to over 40 cars. This last Saturday we had 42. We did the thing over at Christie's. I mean, that's an amazing story there in itself. I mean, when you think of Get Loaded and her taking the business over after her brother Terry passed away, that's a story in itself, you know. And Terry has been there from the beginning with us. She's come to many of our events when we did the renovation in the substation. She was the first one to step up, provided a coffee maker, all the supplies, the microwave, and really kick-started the project that we had over for the sheriff's substation. I mean, our group raised almost $10,000 to do that project. Between Kurt at Fair Price Carpeting and all the other businesses in town that pitched in, we did that all on our own. You know, and it was because of Grand Terrace Cars and Coffee and the heart that everybody has for this city. I mean, we have 7 members that have grown up here since the 60s. I put a little story about that out on Facebook and on my page the other day, and most people don't realize that. You know, we have these car enthusiasts that have lived in this town since 1960. And half of them at the Saturday that were there were neighbors. Donna's parents lived around the corner. Randy, Nick, his brother Larry, they were all into cars. Go down the street to Barney's house, he was into cars. Guy Portillo's brother had the Corvette that Nick now drives and did a complete mod restoration on it. So yeah, it's, I can't say we're the heartbeat of Grand Terrace, but for car people we are.